Welcome to episode 25 of the Quirky Monday Craftcast. My name is Kalisha, and you can find me anywhere online as Nadira Tani. Today is February 6th, and I am coming to you from my home in Central Florida, where it is a very nice sunny day. If you are a new viewer, welcome and thank you so much for stopping by to share some time with me. If you are a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. We do have a Ravelry group. If you search the Quirky Monday Craftcast in the groups tab on Ravelry, you'll find us. There is a Q&A tab on there, so if you want to ask any questions, feel free to drop them in there. As I've been saying in the last couple episodes, I am wanting to do like a getting to know me like bonus video or something like that. I may do the I forget what it was called, it's fiber something tag. Susan of the Knit Lib podcast did one a couple episodes ago, and it had some really interesting questions, so I might do that as a kind of getting to know me type deal. Otherwise, if you have any questions for me, you can either leave them down below and I'll add those to my list for the video, or you can put them in the questions and answers thread on Ravelry. I think that's everything. So let's get into the content. I do have 2 finished objects. The first is my pair of pie socks. Now, let me just show them to you guys. So last week, here's the finished pair. And last week, I had discovered that I knit this one. This is the second sock. I knit it 4 stitches too big by some, I don't know, blip in the space-time continuum. I managed to do that. So as you can see, yeah, look at that. As you can see, the leg is super baggy on my blockers. The foot is baggy as well, but I did decrease down to the correct amount of stitches on the foot. So I don't know if the bagginess in the foot is like, has something to do with the bagginess in the leg. I don't know. The heel is kind of wonky because it's deeper than it was supposed to be. And yeah, see that difference? So yeah, you can see how nice and neat that one is, how crisp and clean. And then this one looks like I wore it 87 times and then gave it to my husband to wear. So I think I may reknit this, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So, and it does slouch down horrendously when I put it on, so there's no way to like fake around that. So yeah, that makes me a little bit sad, but you know, onward and upward. So that one is done. That is going to be the first recipe in my Math Stitchin sock collection. The next recipe I'm going to do is going to be the Fibonacci sequence. So that one will be coming up. I don't know, I'm gonna give a little time for me to do some other sock projects before I get back into the math nerd socks. So those are going. Also, I don't have a box of socks this year. I told myself that I wasn't going to do it because I did the box of socks last year and I really enjoyed it. This year I was like, I don't think I'm going to do the box of socks, but I kind of want to have a box to put the socks in. So I'm kind of doing the box of socks. Maybe. I don't know. So this is, I believe the first pair of socks started and finished in 2018. Is that right? That is right. This is my first pair of socks of the year. And they're sad. So those go away. The next finished object I have is one that you didn't see it as a work in progress. I'm peeking around the camera because Kiva's sitting down there and I'm making sure she stays in the back. Okay, she's good. The next finished object is one that you haven't seen because I made it this past Friday night. So I got this big idea in my head to have a new like African inspired, African American inspired, Black History Month inspired outfit for each Sabbath of the month of February. So Friday night I was like, oh, you know, I could wear the one Ankara print dress that I have. I'll wear that, and then next week I can, you know, work on a new dress for church. And something like the crazy crafter in me said, no, we should just make a skirt tonight. 'Cause why not? And we're not even going to talk about the fact that we had choir rehearsal Friday night and I didn't get home until like 10 something. So all of this happened after 10. I think I started the construction of this skirt by like 11 or 11:30, and I finished around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was, as a lot of like random creative ideas are, in the midst of it, I kind of hit that flow where you're just in it. You're just in the creativity, and it's just like a cloud of making just like overtakes you and you lose track of time. The only reason that I know when I started and finished was because I was taking pictures and documenting like along the way, just in case I wanted to write a blog post. Which, side note, I want to get back into blogging this year, so I just need to do it. Back to the skirt. So this is the skirt. The first idea for it was I was going to take this kente inspired fabric that I got from Joann's. I was going to take it and cut it into strips and intersperse each strip with this black fabric, which is just some random fabric. I don't even know what kind of fabric this is. But I think this was in the fabric that my friend gifted me last year, I think. But I was going to cut this into strips and then alternate it with the black and then make like a gathered skirt, like maybe T-length or something like that. That's what I had in my mind. But then when I looked at it, I was like, no, I want to have all of the kente print or the kente inspired print together. So I went on Pinterest and I was just like scrolling DIY skirts, and I saw this pleated skirt and I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I did no measuring. I mean, I guess I technically measured. I measured my waist, so I knew what size I needed the waistband to be. And then I pleated off of my hand. Like, I put my hand on the fabric, I folded the fabric over, I folded it back over, I pinned it. I moved my hand. Like, that's how I did the pleats. So they are not even. Like, they're not exact, but I don't care. I love the skirt. Because I finished it at an ungodly hour of the night / morning, when I got up for church the next, that Sabbath, I put it on and it was too big. It was about 2.5 inches too big. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just put 2 darts in the back. Let me show you just the back here. So I have a zipper in. You can see the zipper, which that's a very good zipper that I put in. I was very proud of myself because that zipper happened at like 2 in the morning. Feeling quite snazzy. Anyway, as you can see, on one side of the zipper I've got this black fabric, the other side is the kente print. Now the black fabric has a bit of a sheen, yeah? So I put a dart here, and that one like hides pretty well because of the busyness of the fabric. I went to put a dart here, and this happened. So that little pucker right there just ruined the back of it. So I was like, I'm not putting a dart there. So I ended up putting both darts side by side right here. And works for me. So that brought it in the perfect amount. So it fits beautifully on my waist. Zipper is good. It is a full length, like to the floor. Let me get up and show you. It goes all the way to the floor, and I'll insert a picture here of Lamar, me and Lamar after church. But I loved it. This is the first time I've made a floor length skirt for myself ever. So I really like it. I really like how it feels. I did put a split in it in the back so that it's not restricting when I walk. So I really enjoy this this dress skirt. Now, there is a slight tale of woe. When you decide to make a skirt after 10, like I feel like rational thought goes to bed at 10 o'clock. So when you're crafting after 10, things can happen. So one of the things that I did not even think about was that this black fabric, it's kind of like a woven, like it's got like the, can you see? Like those little neps or slubs or whatever in the fabric. So it's a very kind of loose weave, and it frays like nobody's business. Like, look at this. Like, you can just pull it out like that, right? So that's one thing I did not think about while I was sewing the black fabric to the kente. And this happened after wearing it all day, and we went to an art festival after church. Walking around in the art festival, I noticed this. That is the seam, of course, duh, but the fabric, the black fabric, has frayed out enough so that it is pulling loose from the seam. So I have to basically go back in, re-sew this seam. I'm gonna put like some fabric stabilizer on it, because yeah, this entire seam, like from here down, that entire seam is gonna pull out. Like you can see right here, the stitches, the stitch ends right where this fraying begins. Like when I finished the skirt, all of this was actual fabric. So that has all frayed since finishing the skirt. So I need to do some mending on that. But other than that, it's been a great, like it was really comfortable to wear. Even now though, looking at the wrong side of this fabric with that texture, I kind of wish that I would have used this as the right side. That's what happens when you craft after 10, y'all. So yeah, that is my other finished object, and I love it so much. My husband was like, are you gonna wear that when we go to see Black Panther? I was like, I just might, and wear like a big head wrap and walk in there like the queen of Apopka. But I love it. And those are my only two finished things. So with that, we will move into works in progress. The first work in progress I have has not been frogged. It's my pinwheel sweater. Let me find which way is up. All right. So I have like half, maybe a third of a sleeve. And I'm still on the fence, y'all. Still on the fence. I'm going to finish the sweater because I keep telling myself, you're not going to know how it fits on you and how it actually looks until both sleeves are in. So I started the first sleeve a couple nights ago, and I am using the remaining gray yarn from the Genie colorway. This is Lion Brand Mandala. This is the Spirit colorway. This one is remaining from the Genie colorway, and that one is like shades of gray and shades of mint. So I just pulled out the shades of gray. And I'm making a sleeve. This looks so, it has no no hanger. What is it called? Hanger personality? I don't know. But that's the sleeve. I'm going to do full length sleeves. And I think I'm going to do ribbing at the bottom of the sleeve, and then the last row, I have this bright blue, like this blue. I have that left over of the Spirit colorway. So I'm going to do the whole sleeve in gray, finish the ribbing, and then the last row I'm going to do that bright blue on both sleeves. At least that's what I'm thinking. But so yeah, I haven't frogged it. I posted about it in the chatter thread for the Lady Wing Crafts spring garment cowl. Just like asking the people in the thread if it looks silly. I put it on my dress form. And I guess I can put that picture in here as well. And I am so on the fence about this. I posted on Instagram and like asking, what should I do? What do you think I should do? And it was kind of like, well, you're so close to finishing, you might as well finish it. Put a big fun button on the front. It'll look great. So I'm like, I feel like I am completely straddling this fence. And I'm just like pushing through, like, okay, Kalisha, just finish the sleeves. Give it a shot. See how it looks. Make your decision after you finish the sleeves. Because if anything, if I really hate it, I can just rip out the sleeves, sew up those holes, and I have a blanket. So I have an out, just in case it's like, I have an out. I just have like my fingers and toes crossed that when I finish the sleeves and I put it on, it's gonna be like Cinderella, like when she's spinning around just like in her regular little dress, and then the fairy godmother like waves her wand and it turns into a beautiful ball gown. Like, I feel like I'm gonna be spinning around in this shoddy little sweater, and then I'm gonna look in the mirror and it's gonna be like, you know, that was a lot of like wobbling I was just doing. I'm sorry if that like made you nauseous. So that's that. My next work in progress, it's my birthday socks. They are the February Lady Socks by Kay Atherley. Now, I can't remember where I was last week when I podcast, but this is how far this is how far I've gotten. I finished 8 repeats on the foot, and I have 19 before I do the toe, so about halfway there. Now, I feel like I have so many tales of woe lately. So there is a slight tale of woe with this sock. So last night I was watching, I don't know, I was watching some podcast or something, as I usually do when I'm knitting. And I picked up the sock to knit. Now, this pattern, it's a four row repeat, so it's really easy to remember, or to memorize, and then it's easy to read your knitting. So I looked at it, I picked it up, I'm like, okay, I should be on this row. So I start knitting, and then I get all the way to the end, and I don't have enough stitches to finish the repeat. So then I tink back, and I looked at my stitches, and it was so confusing, because I was like, something is not right. Tell me why I ended up having to drop down 2 rows to fix a mistake that I made like halfway through the lace row 2 rows ago. Now, I could have done the easy thing and just tinked back the rows, but I was like, I don't feel like tinking back, so I can just drop down these stitches and fix them and pick them back up. I did it. Like, I was successful, and I'm super proud about that, because this definitely took place at 1 in the morning. But yeah, guys, I dropped down 2 rows, which was basically the lace row I was working, the knit row, the next lace row. I had to drop down to the previous knit row. So basically, almost an entire pattern repeat. And I'm so proud of myself, y'all. Like, it was really difficult because I had to pick up, there's of course the yarn overs for the eyelets, but there's also knit 2 together and SSK decreases that I had to undo, pick up the correct stitches, re-knit those. And like, when you just drop down a portion of stitches, you just have like a loop of yarn to work with. So like, each one of the lace repeats is 7 stitches. So I had a loop that was enough yarn to only do those 7 stitches. And when I got to the 7th stitch, I ended up having to get another knitting needle out and like manipulate it. So like, I don't even know. I'm so stinking proud of myself. So the title of this episode should be Beware Crafting, Beware Midnight Crafting. Matter of fact, that's the title. Beware the midnight crafting. Because it took me, I don't know, I watched a whole episode of a Christy Glass Knits interview. So like 30 minutes to fix, no, it was more than that. So it was probably 45 minutes, 50 minutes to fix the mistakes. But I am now on the right path. I am back on the straight and narrow, and finished that repeat, and I'm ready to go. So that means that this sock is completely perfect so far. So that just means I'm going to finish the remaining rows on the foot, and then I have to do 2 extra rows so that it matches the first sock, like lengthwise, and then I do the toe and I'm finished. So these will definitely be done for my birthday. Yeah, I'm knitting as usual on my 2.25 US number 1 Chalgu red lace needles. I love these. The yarn is Knit Picks Glimmer, or Knit Picks Stroll Glimmer, I think it is. It was white, and then I dyed it myself. This is Deborah Norville purple that I over dyed to be a little deeper purple, and then Deborah Norville black Serenity sock. And this is the cake I have left. So yeah, that is my first work in progress. Is living in one of my Quirky Monday Ankara print bags. This one was meant to go into the shop, but had a whoopsie, so now it's mine. Let's see. Is that all for works in progress? No. I have like a half object. This is also something that I just started. I sketched out the idea after seeing after seeing a print of this idea. I sketched it out and I said I wanted to make this into a shirt. So then sometimes, like, when inspiration strikes, what do? What can you do? So this is my Black is Beautiful shirt. And actually, let me show you the sketch first. Here we go. It's this. So I have the Black is Beautiful, and I did this in gold iron-on letters, and then I have like taped off these triangles that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to paint them red, black, green, and gold. So that is the idea for this shirt, and it's a half object because I have the letters all done. And here it is. Ta-da! I love my taping, actually. It's washy. So I did the Black is Beautiful in the gold iron-on letters, which came out really nicely. These are the letters I used. They're just from Joann, Soft Flex. There's ants on everything. Iron-on letters. So they come in a pack like that. I had to buy 2 packs because I needed 2 U's. Like, I have a complete pack sans U. So needless to say, I will be making other things with these gold letters. Like, I'm about to be playing Scrabble. How many different words can I make from what I have in here? So yeah, those, I think they were like $3 and change, and I used a 40% off coupon on both of them. So I have my triangles taped off, and I'm going to be painting those in acrylic paint. Acrylic paint, once it's dry, doesn't really wash out. It'll fade, which I'm excited for it to fade, because then it gets like kind of an antique-y look. So I'm going to paint that in today and let it dry. I got this shirt from the Goodwill yesterday. Like this all happened yesterday. But it's a super long shirt, which I like, and it's really loose and flowy, so that's going to be fun. So yeah, that. Let's get that folded back up. And I'm just using Apple Barrel acrylic paint, so just regular acrylic paint, nothing fancy. Use what you got. And I have the red, black, and the green, and then I also had to buy the gold, which I got at Joann's yesterday with a coupon. So I was taking pictures of that also throughout the process, so I'm going to continue that, and it'll definitely be done in time, you know, to wear for like next podcast. any random activities that I do. I might even wear it tomorrow. Who knows? I can't have nothing new. Can't have nothing new. So that's everything that I'm going to show for works in progress. I do have the pattern sample of the puppy love shawl in progress, but it's literally just like, it's probably like this big right now, because I've been working so much on the pinwheel sweater that I put that kind of to the side. But it is going nicely. I am making tweaks and updates to the pattern as I'm working through it. So there have been some changes that I wanted to make the puppy love shawl drape better. And that will bring us to maker plans. I have 2 plans that have recently just jumped into my mind. So the first is I want to try my hand at embroidery again. I tried some embroidery years ago, like to the point where I have like a plethora of embroidery flosses and they're living in this little Tupperware. So recently, oh look, a bobbin. I didn't put that with my sewing stuff. Recently, I started watching this new podcast. I cannot pronounce her name, so I will put it at the bottom of the screen. But she is working on a constellation, like wall hanging tapestry kind of thing. And she got the kit from Haptic Labs, I think. And so of course, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I need that in my life. That and the Silasterium shawl. I need those things in my life. So I immediately went over to the Haptic Lab website and I was looking at the kits, and it's definitely like doable. Like you would look at something like this and think, oh my gosh, it's gonna take me forever. They're small. Like it's not like you're quilting a king-size quilt of the northern sky, you know. So I definitely put that on my wish list for my birthday, so fingers crossed. But that sparked my interest in getting back into embroidery. And I have some really small hoops, like maybe that big. So I was thinking that I could do like a constellation in there, because I've seen it somewhere, probably on Etsy, where like you have like maybe dark blue fabric and it's a constellation or a zodiac constellation or something like that, and it's stitched in there and it looks really simple and clean, and I love it. So I'm thinking about that. So I pulled out my embroidery flosses to put them on my craft space so that that idea stays in the forefront of my mind, so it doesn't get like washed under my mental rug. So there's that, and I'm really excited about it. I also have another doodle that I did at the same time as the Black is Beautiful one. This one, it's really, really rough in the sketch, but it's right here. So the idea is a silhouette with an afro, and then within the afro have the word cumulus. Goes this way. Have the word cumulus. Now that that stems from this photo, like a selfie that I took a while ago. I had my afro out and I took a selfie, and my hair was just like huge. Like it was like this big, no joke. And it just made me think of cumulus clouds. And I have this thing for words where I just love words. I love knowing where they came from, knowing what the roots are, everything like that. And the word cumulus comes from the Latin word for pile. And it just made me smile. I don't know why. So whenever I have my hair out in an afro, That's what comes to mind. So what I want to do, I want to do like a tote bag and have that image and paint that image on it. But my goal, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do this yet, but I want the silhouette to be me. So I'm going to like have my afro out and take a picture of myself like in profile, and then from that picture outline the silhouette of my face and the hair. I think it's going to be cool. We'll see. Who knows? So that's also like a maker plan. I don't know when I'm going to do it because there's so many things that I want to do creatively, but yeah. So those are my two like biggest maker plans that I have rolling around in my head right now. I do realize that the Chasing Blizzard shawl is still technically a maker plan because I haven't started that. And I think that's the only one that's still a maker plan that I haven't started. I think so. That one will also get started, but I just don't know when. The yarn is together. It's in a project bag. I think I put needles in there, so I just need to start it. Next up is Stashquisitions, and I have 3 things that I want to show. First is kind of boring, so I'll just show that one first. I got this cute little wire bin from the Goodwill yesterday, and I'm keeping all of my minis and scraps in it. I really like the color. I really like this style of container. Like, I don't know what it is about a nice wire bin that just makes me happy on the inside. Like, I'm gonna put a little label in here and put like, I don't know, minis, leftovers. I don't know. This is just on here because I didn't have anywhere else to put it, so I just stuck it on there. So yeah, I've got all of my complete minis in here, and I have all of my leftover bits from socks and projects that I finished, mostly fingering weight. There's a couple sport weight and worsted weight balls in there. The only thing that I did not put in here was like bigger leftovers. Like if I can wind it into like a substantial cake, like a cake bigger than this, then I have it in a different bag. So that was my first Stashquisition, and it just makes me so happy to see all of my little leftovers and their little balls or cakes in that container. The next Stashquisition I have is hanging out on my bag here, and I got a pin from Brown Girl Knits. I love it. Little afro yarn ball. I wore this to church on Sabbath. I had this one, a DNA pin, and another little Afro Girl pin. And I'll put a picture of that up too. Because I was very proud of my like enamel pin vignette that I had on my cardigan. I felt fancy. And the last Stashquisition, I feel, is the best one. I won't say the best one, but it's definitely the most exciting for me right now. So let me just preface this with I came across this at the arts festival that we went to this past Saturday, and as we were walking around, I was there with Lamar, my husband, my friend Tiffany, and her son Matthew, and they stopped at some booth. I don't know what it was, but it was something like sparkly and fun, and they were like, "Oh, let's look at this." And I'm walking around and knitting, and I turn and I just see this big painting of like a sheep in the, you know, the I forget the name of the title of this painting, but I think it's by Leonardo da Vinci, and it's a man, and he's got his arms and legs out, and it's got the circles around him, kind of like a study. But this painting, the man had been replaced by a sheep. So I'm sitting there like, what is that? And it just pulled me in. I just walked away from the people I was there with and just walked over to this booth. And as I get closer, I see like other paintings, and they all have like hilarious names. Like there was one, of course there was a like Silence of the Lambs, and it was like 3 sheep, and they were like duct taped to the wall, and like mouths duct taped or something like that. There was one that said Haul and Stash, I think it was, and the sheep was like running with a wagon, like pulling a wagon full of yarn balls. And there was one that said Fellow Sheep of the Ring, and it had all of the characters from Fellowship of the Ring, from what is it, The Hobbit, had all of the characters as sheep, but they were the fellow sheep. So I'm standing in there like, this is so cute. And then I turned around and I fell out laughing, because there was this huge painting, like the thing had to be like 3 feet tall, and the title of it was Dances with Wolves, and it was this sheep dancing with like wool, like yarn, balls of yarn. And I fell out laughing because I was like, she painted a picture of me. So this artist, her name is Connie Togel, I think. The art line is called Sheep Incognito, and I will link her and everything down below. But her work was awesome. It just brought me so much joy, and I purchased a print of Dances with Wolves. So that's what it looks like. Every time I look at this, I get the giggles. But so yeah, I have the Dances with Wolves, and she said like, because I was knitting, she was like, oh, you need to have this business card, and she gave me this one. It says Knit Happens, and I love it so stinking much. Like, my cheeks hurt from smiling right now. So yeah, that's the highlight of my stash acquisition section. So I was talking to her. She said that she does the fiber festival circuit, so she goes to all of them: Rhinebeck, Maryland Sheep and Wool, SAF. She said there was one in South Carolina. I don't remember which one that was called, but she said she's going to be there. So if you like her work, I definitely say to check her out online. You can order her work online, which it's amazing. Like, it just brought me so much joy. And then on top of that, I think the joy that it brought me was bringing other people joy, because I was just like, I was like, this is just so perfect. And like, people outside of the booth were like looking at me like, what is she looking at? And then they would see the work, and so they were coming in, and I was just like, everybody look at this stuff. So I love it. It's me as a sheep. Okay, enough of my silliness. The next section is going to be called Black Fibers, Black Threads. Now, this section is one that has, like, the idea has been rolling around in my head, as you've seen a lot of my ideas do. But I wanted to focus, starting in Black History Month, on the presence and contributions of blacks, like African Americans, Caribbean Americans, etc., on the fiber community. And then fiber extending to like wool, yarn, knitting, crocheting, like that, as well as the fabric side of fiber. So the sewing, the quilting, making in that way. The reason that this is what I want to focus on is because I so often hear the sentiment, oh, black people knit? Like, this is not a new thing. So I thought, what better way to combat the idea or the question, do black people knit, than to research it and to see what have black people done, or in what ways have black people contributed to like the knidosphere or the fiber sphere, if you will. So I started by Googling, because just Google, ask Google a question. So the question I asked, or the phrase that I Googled was African Americans and knitting. Just that, to see what happened. The first thing that came up was a blog post that a lady had written in response to a person saying, oh, I didn't know black people knit. And I can understand where that idea comes from, because when you look at media coverage of knitting, that sounds so extra, but for real, like knitting magazines, knitting books, knitting podcasts, any type of, and when I say knitting, I'm also including knitting and crochet. A lot of times when you see like the crochet books, the crochet magazines, the crochet podcasts, just anything that's putting out those fiber related media for your consumption, there are very few, it's very infrequent that you will see black and brown people in those publications and in that space. So it is very easy for someone to say this is something that a black person doesn't do, because they don't see black people doing it. So when I go into a yarn shop, a lot of the times I'm the only one of my persuasion there. Or when I'm walking around or I'm knitting somewhere or something like that, I do understand why people look like, oh, that is like something strange. That is something you don't see every day, which, okay, I'll give it to you. You probably don't. It's fine. But fairness, you probably don't see anybody really knitting out and about every day. Okay, that's fine. So in my research, and this is just something that I have just dipped my toe into, but I'm so excited about it that I do want to continue this. I do want this to be a thing that I focus on in my fiber life. So I came across a group called the Self-Improvement Club. Now, this was a group that was started in Seattle during World War I, and they got together with the express interest to knit wool socks and other woolens for black soldiers that were fighting during World War I. Now, at the same time, the Red Cross was having this campaign, this huge campaign asking women to knit for soldiers. So they did it big. They had poem writing contests. They had, of course, knitting contests. Who can knit the most socks? Whoever wins this contest gets yarn for knitting socks for the soldiers, do your wartime duty kind of thing. And while that is amazing, that is definitely something that was needed at that time. I was reading about the boots that the soldiers wore, they were just these heavy duty boots with iron or steel nails that held the soles together, so it was conducting the cold from the ground straight into their feet. Their feet were always wet, and it was just all around bad news for your feet if you didn't have good socks. So the Red Cross was doing this campaign to help keep the soldiers' feet healthy or healthier. But what was happening, as you can probably expect, during that time in the country, in our country, the black soldiers were not treated the same as the white soldiers. So these women decided that their wartime duty was to knit these socks for their boys. And they not only knit socks to send to them, they also sent them letters and encouragement and everything like that, so that the black soldiers knew that, you know, yes, there are people back home pushing for you. There are people who care about you. You know, like, there are people who are here for you. And I just thought that was a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that I was able to come across that information. But I found a picture of the self-improvement club. I think it was during like a Christmas party or something like that. And I mean, it's just a group of ladies who got together and said, this is something that we want to do. This is something that matters to us. And I just thought that was beautiful, and I was excited to share that with you all. So it is something that I'm going to be doing definitely in each episode throughout Black History Month. But the way that my brain works, it kind of grabs a hold of an idea and then just keeps like expanding it and expanding it. So this may definitely be something that becomes a regular segment on my podcast, which I will be excited about. So yes, there you go. You've learned today about the Self-Improvement Club that was started during World War I in Seattle, Washington, with the express purpose to knit woolens for the black soldiers who were fighting the war at that time. I hope that was an interesting tidbit for you. Happy Black History Month from your friendly neighborhood Kalisha. So yeah, we'll jump right into a little bit of life stuff. I have been telling you a little bit about the the arts festival that we went to on Saturday. It was the Mount Dora Arts Festival, and the thing was huge. Like, I did not expect it to be that big. Like, you would need a whole day to really experience that whole festival. And I was so glad that we got to go. Aside from the Sheep Incognito, we got to see a whole bunch of different artisans. It was very inspirational to see people creating things from anything. Like, there was one booth where the artist did these huge paintings, but the paintings were actually done with strips of fabric. Just amazing. There was another booth that was a blown glass artwork, but they created like these orbs, and within each one of them it was like a galaxy. So you know, I was just heart eyes all over that. But they had one of the ladies working the booth was telling me the planets that were in the galaxy were made of opals. The stardust was silver and gold dust, and there were also like swirls of colors in there. Like, it was amazing. Like, I walked up to the booth and I looked at the work and I was like, I don't understand what I'm looking at. Can you please explain this to me? And it was just beautiful. Just, oh my gosh, breathtaking. But a highlight for me personally from the festival was the fact that I spoke to, I believe it was 3 different strangers. Like, no, probably 4 different strangers. I was able to talk to them, and I did not bust out in a nervous sweat, which is something that always happens whenever I'm like, surprised, gotta talk to a stranger. I'm always like, oh my gosh, like the sweat is real. So the only thing that I can think of that stopped that immediate like anxiety response is the fact that I was knitting on the second pie sock, and it was just like, I was on the foot, so it was just vanilla, knit, 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 keep going around and around. And I was far enough away from the toe that I didn't have to think, am I about to run into the toe, or am I going to knit too far? So because I was able to have that calm effect of my knitting with me, I was able to, you know, talk to people. Like this one lady asked me how I did my head wrap, and I was just telling her how you do it. And this other lady was asking me about, oh, you know, what kind of sock are you knitting? What toe are you gonna do? What heel are you gonna do? And I was just talking about it. And then I was talking to another person about something random, and at no time did I feel that tightness in my chest. Like there was even this guy walking around with his camera, and he asked me, like he stopped me and said, can I take a picture of you? And I said yes. And he snapped a picture of me, and I just felt like normal and calm, which has never happened to me before. So if there was anything that was going to convince me that knitting is good for you, that is what it was. And it was just a great, like, not epiphany, because I always knew that knitting calms me. It makes me feel calm. Knitting and crochet, like working with my hands, working with the yarns, creating something, makes me feel that calm within me. But Saturday was definitely a check, like, hey, there's really something here. So next time somebody asks me, why do you knit all the time? For my health. Thank you very much. So yeah. The other big thing that happened this past week was the epic full moon. It was at its fullest on the 31st. I went outside on the 30th to get something out of the car, and as I'm walking outside, it was just like poof, moon in my face. So I don't even think I ever got the thing out of the car that I needed to get, because I immediately turned around, went inside, got my camera and my binoculars, and came back outside. And I just sat there with my binoculars staring at the moon. And I don't know what it is about the majesty of space that always brings me to tears in the most nerdy way. Just gonna leave that there. But I was able to take a picture with my camera, my zoom lens. I posted a picture of the picture, because it's still on the camera because I haven't printed it out yet. But I posted that to Instagram, so I'll put that up here too. But it was a beautiful picture of the moon, and the photographer in me just took over, and I took like 7 pictures of the moon. And then after I did this, I thought to myself, Kalisha, the moon is not moving. Why did you need more than 1 picture? I mean, sometimes I just get overzealous, and I get a little trigger happy on that shutter. So, but yeah, I'll show you the picture that I took of the moon. I'm so proud of it. I'm gonna print it out. I might be really obnoxious and print it out like 10 by 13. I might do that. That might happen. Don't be surprised if that happens. So yeah. Did you get to see the moon? I really hope you did, because it was a super moon, meaning closer to the earth, appearing brighter and larger. It was a blue moon, meaning the second full moon of the month, and it was also a blood moon. The blood moon part was only visible in certain areas, more so on the west coast of the US, but that is a full lunar eclipse. I don't know how often those three things coincide, but it was amazing. I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, is that why these kids are off the chain? My mom works in an elementary school. Is that why these kids are off the chain? I was like, blame the moon, blame the moon. So pretty much that whole like full moon cycle, like not cycle, but the days that it was full, anytime any shenanigans happened, I was like, blame the moon, blame the moon. So yeah, I hope you were able to experience that because it was amazing. Last bit before I go is the Quirky Monday shop has been updated. Yay! The new bags went live last night, so there are Valentine's bags in the shop as well as African fabric bags in the shop. They are I've got all the different sizes, so the 3 sizes that I've historically had, the small, medium, and large, and I've also introduced a new wide mouth bag. So let me grab some for you to see. So we have the small bags, and this pattern is called Llama 11. We've got the small bags, and I will put their measurements at the bottom of the screen. Each small bag is lined with a contrast color, good for notions, pens, hooks, scissors, what have you. We have the medium bag, which this is the same medium bag that I've always sold, but I have updated the handle. So now the handles are removable, and you can use this little D-ring to hold your stitch markers, progress keepers, or anything like that. So that's pretty cool, I think. So new handle, but the bag and the measurements are still the same. Each one of the medium, large, and wide bags are all lined in white. So nice and bright for you to see everything that you have inside. And they each have a contrast color on the bottom. This is the large size. Same deal with the new handle, the new hardware, lined in white. And this is the new wide bag. So the wide bag also has the same type of handle. It has a 12-inch wide opening. So like the inside of the bag is comparable to the medium-sized bag, so they are the same price. So I'll show you the difference though. In the medium-sized bag, when you put everything in, you have this space here that you can reach in and out of. The wide bag allows you that much space, so you can see straight down into the bottom of that one, and lots of space to get in there. I love it. And all of the bags, you can fold them down if you want to do like a yarn bowl kind of situation, if you're knitting on the go or anything like that, or crocheting or what have you. But yeah, that is the new wide bag. So I will hold them all up together so that you can see them in reference to each other. That was stupid. They blend in. So let's do like this. So you can see the difference in their sizes and how they compare to each other. So there's your traditional large and medium, and then the wide. So yeah, if you guys take a look at the shop, you will see those new bags that are up. I have added a new section to the shop. When you go to the Quirky Monday shop on Etsy, there is a drop down where you can click for sections. There is now a clearance section. So basically any bag that is still in stock from when I first opened, actually this month, yeah, I think I did my first update around my birthday. So Quirky Monday is about to hit a year. Look at that. So anyway, any bag that I still have in stock from the first update of Quirky Monday, if it's still in stock, I have moved it to the clearance section, and all of the clearance bags are 30% off. So if there was a bag that you have been looking at that maybe you favorited, or just haven't pulled the trigger on yet, if it's in that clearance section, you can pick it up for 30% off, which is the deepest discount that I have run yet. So that is everything. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below of something great or something positive that happened to you this week, so that we can spread the joy and spread the smiles. Thanks again for hanging out with me. I really appreciate you spending your time. Oh look, there's a Kiva. Hey Kiva. Hi. Anyway, she got distracted by something. But I hope you have a wonderful day, week. Until I see you next. Thanks for being here. Bye.